Hi Aries, welcome to your July 2016 love reading. It's Rena here. So what do we have here? I just started over again because I felt like it was kind of meandering and I want to just make it very clear. So I have already pulled the cards and I will just go through what I have already done. The overall energy is the Hangman card in reverse. I just had finished saying that I never can tell whether it's upright or reversed. The Hangman in reverse card has to do with someone who has been trying to make a decision and maybe has stayed in that state of indecision too long and they have to make a decision now. And so when you are in such a state in regards to a relationship, what that tells me right off the bat is that you have misgivings about a particular person. And it really isn't like an Aries individual or a typical Aries individual to be the Hangman either upright or reversed, because you tend to jump in with both feet. And you're not the type to kind of just contemplate issues at length. And because of that tendency to be very impetuous, very rash in your decisions, because of impatience, because of enthusiasm, really, you really have this zest for living and you want to get on with things. You don't want to belabor the point. So I understand that, kind of zest for life, but sometimes you jump the gun. And so this is very uncharacteristic of an Aries to kind of be resisting a certain choice or, whatever it is that you have to make. What that tells me is that you may be dealing with somebody who is really obviously having issues. And because of this, even you can't pretend that this isn't the case. Now, obviously, this reading is not going to be for everyone. Besides the fact that it's a general reading for every Aries person on the planet, which is impossible to read for everybody of one sign on the planet and have it all just fall right into line, there's also the situation of some of you being in different types of relationships. This kind of reading is not meant for people in happy relationships or people who are single who really don't care whether or not they find a partner. This is more for people who either are, really struggling within a relationship and trying to figure out what's going on, or for people who are single and can't understand why they keep having a lack of success in relationships. They can't sustain them. They don't seem to feel like they have a pattern of choosing good partners. So that's what this is more about, these types of readings. And so I feel like some of you may be involved with somebody who's really got issues. And, the way I look at this too is the recent past is the Moon card. The Moon card speaks of things not appearing as they seem. And so for the average person, they can sometimes feel like someone isn't being straight with them, and that can make them feel uneasy and all that sort of thing. But I feel like it may be even more in your face, because Aries tends to not read between the lines, overall, unless you have a lot of Scorpio in you, or maybe even a lot of Virgo where there's analyzing going on. Most of the time, you guys are you take life as it appears to you. And this can be a very wonderful quality in the sense that you're an uncomplicated person a lot of times. And so you approach life in an uncomplicated way too. And so when you are dealing with somebody who may be deceptive, I could see some of you actually falling for it over and over again because of that believing in whatever you see. So this tells me that maybe it's an even more serious problem than just, pretending to be something that they're not. Maybe they have a full-blown addiction, because sometimes the moon can indicate illusion, and fantasy, and addiction goes right along with that. So maybe you're dealing with somebody who has an addiction and you don't know what to do. You don't know whether you should stay or whether you should go, but you, until now, have avoided making that decision. The higher message is the King of Pentacles. For some of you, let's say you're a man and this is a woman that you're not sure about. If you're a father, think about your children and think about what is healthy in their environment. Sometimes men are less likely to leave because they don't think that they can raise children on their own. And, it's understandable why a man who has a full-time job might be a little bit confused about what to do. But it always has to go back to the child. And for some of you, it just may mean that that person is going to destroy your business. Maybe you're with maybe it's your spouse, and maybe they're taking the money from your business and using it for drugs, for gambling. Maybe it's not anything to do with substance abuse. Maybe they're gamblers. It can be some kind of a compulsive behavior, and you are at risk of losing what you have. King of Pentacles is an energy of being very successful in the world, in your community, and having the financial wherewithal to be a good provider. And this can also indicate an individual that may be better for you, but you have kind of ignored in favor of the other person. Maybe the other person is much more exciting because they're unpredictable. And the King of Pentacles, which could be an earth sign individual, a Taurus, a Virgo, or a Capricorn, are much more predictable, stable, and therefore unexciting to you. And I think I had spoken of that to Scorpio, about those tendencies for certain people to gravitate towards drama instead of, and mistake it for excitement in a relationship, an exciting relationship, when it's really just dysfunctional. And it's always unfortunate when people get into this pattern, because they can really turn their lives upside down. It's amazing the havoc that a person can wreak if you allow them into your life in that close a manner, because they have access to everything. Some of them have access to your bank accounts and clean you out and blah, blah, blah. So, yeah. What crosses you is the Lover's card. This could be, the Lover's card connects to Gemini, actually. So maybe this person, this deceptive person, is a Gemini. Maybe that's just saying that they are what is keeping you from moving on with your life. But the Lover's card can also indicate choosing between two people. So it is possible that some of you have this other person in your life. Now, for some of you, since the King indicates the father, maybe it's the father of your child. Maybe that person is still, you still see them, when you're dealing with a child, and maybe they are someone that you felt like you couldn't get along with at one point, and now maybe the universe's message is this is the person for you. It all depends on the individual. But the Lover's card as a position of crossing you, I would read as a reversed card. So I think of the opposite of what the Lover's card represents. Upside down, the Lover's card represents disharmony. And so it's just indicating not being in sync with somebody, and that being, problematic for the relationship and problematic for your life in general. When you're not on the same page with somebody and there's a lot of arguments and discord, that doesn't enhance your life. It actually saps your energy, and it just creates a lot of tension. And it's funny too, because you can see, I can't remember if the Rider-Waite has naked people on them like this one does. But the Lover's card also indicates sexual intimacy. And so in the reverse position, it could be like a relationship that is based on sex. And so that can increase the compulsion and the being drawn to that person, even though you know that they're not good for you. So that's just something to think about. The energy that works in your favor right now is the Page of Pentacles. So this is a card of somebody. Now, pages can actually indicate children, but it can be just somebody younger than you. Could be an earth sign, but it can be somebody who is a student. And how they factor into your life in a positive way, I'm not entirely sure. It depends on your age. If you're somebody in your 20s, it may just be somebody at your college. If you're somebody, oh no, I was going to say if you're somebody in your 50s, it could be your student. No, don't go there. No, but it could just be a younger person, maybe a younger earth sign who is somebody. Now, it could be somebody who is just a platonic friend who is helping you through the situation. Some of these cards, and I see that they're two Pentacles cards, is that there's somebody who is probably around you that has a lot of common sense. And maybe you take that person for granted because they're so grounded, they're so predictable and dependable that maybe you don't value what they have to give you enough, and maybe you should value it, and maybe they can help you in some way. Maybe it is a romantic possibility. The advice is the Six of Swords. So this is a card about moving away from drama and tension into a place of harmony. For some of you, you may decide to make a fresh start somewhere else because, especially if you live in an area that everybody knows everybody else, you may not want to continue the old history. Depending on how unstable this person is, you may want to get as far away as possible. But it is a card of choosing peace over the strife, which is represented by the swords. And that's something that Aries has to really be conscious of doing, because you guys have no problem getting in the fray. You're ruled by Mars, the god of war. So you sometimes are always worrying about something. Sometimes you're always, treating life as a battlefield. So that can be also what hooks you into these negative relationships, is that, it kind of gives you a sparring outlet. But definitely if you are thinking of making a positive choice, it would be to get away from any situation that is bringing you stress and strife. It could involve an air sign individual. So it could involve a Gemini, Libra, or Aquarius, who is somebody that could be a platonic person, it could be a romantic partner, but who can give you a happier and more harmonious daily life and interactions. The outcome is the Fool card, that 0 point, the first card of the major arcana, the unknown. But somebody who is traveling lightly. And yes, there's a knapsack on his back. But it's symbolic. I think it is being psychologically free of the burdens that maybe you have been dealing with, but also free of preconceptions, maybe of all the things that have happened before that have been not so positive and that you're trying to get away from, not projecting them onto a new relationship. And that would be really wonderful, because then you can really start fresh, Aries, and you love beginnings, you really do. So I hope you enjoyed this. If you'd like a personal reading, please click on the link below. Otherwise, have a great, adventurous July, Aries. Bye.